For most of football history, Norway was not a country that dreamed about winning the World Cup. It was a country that dreamed about qualifying for it. The difference is enormous. One dream belongs to outsiders. The other belongs to nations that believe they can change history. For 28 years, Norway had watched World Cups from a distance. Generations of supporters grew up without seeing their national team on football's biggest stage. Then Erling Haaland arrived. Suddenly, the impossible became discussable. By the summer of 2026, he was 25 years old, already one of the most feared strikers in world football, and the face of an entire nation's hopes. Norway had returned to the World Cup for the first time since 1998, and almost every headline began with the same assumption. If Norway were going to do something historic, Haaland would have to lead it. That is a strange burden for a 25-year-old. Fans see goals. A country sees destiny. The pressure began before the tournament even started. Haaland had scored 16 goals in qualifying, finishing as the top scorer of the European qualifiers and playing the decisive role in Norway's qualification campaign. But qualification creates a new problem. Once you arrive, nobody remembers how difficult it was to get there. They ask, what comes next? The opening match against Iraq revealed the answer immediately. Haaland scored twice. His first World Cup goal arrived in the 29th minute, finishing a fast Norwegian attack with the certainty of a striker who had waited years for this stage. Iraq equalized 10 minutes later through Ayman Hussein, and for a brief moment, Norway's long-awaited return to the World Cup seemed in danger of becoming anxious and chaotic. Haaland responded before halftime. In the 43rd minute, he struck again, restoring Norway's lead and calming the entire team. 2 goals, 1 statement. Norway eventually won 4-1 after second-half goals from Leo Ostigard and a late Iraqi own goal. Most strikers would have celebrated the perfect beginning. Haaland looked almost relieved, because for players like him, a good performance does not lower expectations. It raises them. The second match against Senegal became even more dramatic. Norway won 3-2, and Haaland scored twice again, once in the 48th minute, once in the 58th. 4 goals in 2 World Cup matches. Norway had reached the knockout stage, and the country erupted. Fans performed the Viking rowing celebration in the stands, in city squares, and even inside the Norwegian parliament. After the match, Haaland admitted something unexpected. He called it one of the greatest nights of his life and said he had dreamed of playing in a World Cup for Norway. That sentence mattered. Machines do not speak about dreams. People do. Then came France. Norway lost 4-1. For the first time in the tournament, the illusion cracked. Haaland did not play, and Norway suddenly looked vulnerable again. They finished second in the group and faced a much harder path through the knockout rounds. That defeat changed the emotional tone of the tournament. The story was no longer about a goal machine collecting statistics. It became a question. Could one extraordinary striker carry an ordinary football nation further than it had ever gone before? That is the moment our film truly begins. Not with a goal, with a burden. After the group stage, Norway had done what the country had waited almost 3 decades to see. They had reached the knockout rounds. For most nations, that would have felt like success. For Erling Haaland, it felt like the beginning of a new obligation. 4 goals in 2 matches had changed the atmosphere around him completely. The question was no longer whether Norway belonged at the World Cup. The question became whether Haaland could carry them even further. Their first knockout match against Côte d'Ivoire revealed how quickly pressure changes football. Norway led through a brilliant solo goal from Antonio Nusa. Then the match turned. Côte d'Ivoire equalized in the 74th minute, and suddenly Norway looked nervous. The stadium noise grew louder. Passes became heavier. Every attack carried the fear of elimination. Great strikers often disappear when matches become anxious. Haaland appeared. In the 86th minute, Haaland found himself in the right place at the right time, getting enough contact on the ball for it to creep across the goal line and give Norway a 2-1 victory and the country's first World Cup knockout win in history. The celebration mattered less than the reaction afterward. Haaland did not speak about records. He spoke about relief, and that was the moment expectations changed. The headlines stopped celebrating Norway's return to the World Cup. They started asking how far Haaland could take them. The machine begins to feel pressure, and pressure has a strange effect on elite athletes. A goal no longer feels like glory. It feels like responsibility. The reward for beating Côte d'Ivoire was even bigger than the victory itself. Brazil, 5-time world champions. The country that once represented footballing destiny. Norway were supposed to admire them. Instead, they eliminated them. Brazil took the lead, and for a few minutes the familiar hierarchy of world football seemed restored. Then Haaland struck. His first goal came in the 79th minute, arriving late in the match when Norway desperately needed belief. His second arrived in the 90th minute, completing one of the most extraordinary victories in Norwegian football history. 2 goals, a 2-1 victory. One of the greatest results in Norwegian football history. For the first time ever, Norway reached a World Cup quarterfinal. After the match, Haaland admitted something almost childlike. He said he had dreamed of playing in a World Cup for Norway, but he had never expected to beat Brazil. That sentence may be the most revealing line of the entire tournament. Machines do not confess disbelief. Humans do. By the end of the Brazil match, Haaland had scored 7 goals in the tournament. The world saw a goal machine. Norway saw something else. The possibility that history could still be rewritten by one extraordinary player. After Brazil, everything changed. For the first time in modern Norwegian football history, the national team was preparing for a World Cup quarterfinal. The country stopped talking about participation. It started talking about possibility. That shift is dangerous. Underdogs are allowed to dream. Contenders are expected to deliver. In the days before the quarterfinal, Haaland was no longer just Norway's striker. Every training session was filmed. Every touch became a headline. Television crews followed him from the team bus to the dressing room. Children waited outside the hotel, wearing number 9 shirts. A goal scorer can hide inside a system. A leader cannot. The quarterfinal against England felt different from every previous match. Norway had enjoyed moments of freedom earlier in the tournament. Now, every movement was analyzed. England defended deeper, doubled him near the box, and forced Norway to play through other players. For long stretches, Haaland barely touched the ball. That was the real test. Not scoring, staying useful when scoring became almost impossible. He pressed England's centre-backs. He chased lost causes. He gestured constantly, demanding that teammates push higher. Several times, television cameras caught him encouraging younger players after misplaced passes. Those are not the actions that appear in highlight reels. They are the actions teammates remember. England eventually won 2-1 after extra time, ending Norway's remarkable run. Haaland did not score. He left the pitch frustrated, exhausted, and almost unrecognizable from the unstoppable striker of the group stage. And yet something important happened in defeat. Before this tournament, Erling Haaland was known primarily as a phenomenon of goals. After it, Norway began to speak about him differently, not only as the player who scored 7 goals, as the player who carried the emotional weight of the country's greatest football journey in a generation. Sometimes a tournament changes a player through triumph. Sometimes it changes him through responsibility. When Haaland walked off after the quarterfinal, he had fewer goals than he wanted and fewer matches than Norway dreamed of. But he no longer looked like a football machine. He looked like the captain of a national story. When Norway's World Cup ended, the headlines focused on the obvious number: 7 goals. For most players, that would have been the entire story. For Erling Haaland, it was only the beginning, because goals had never really been the mystery. He had scored them in Norway, in Austria, in Germany, in England, against almost every kind of defender football could invent. The World Cup taught him something goals never had: what it feels like when millions of people need you to become a symbol. Throughout the tournament, strangers painted his number on their faces. Children wore his shirt across Norway. Norway's matches became national events. For the first time in a generation, football became the center of national attention in Norway. That is not the pressure of a striker. That is the pressure of hope. And hope is heavier than expectation. Expectation belongs to journalists. Hope belongs to ordinary people. The most revealing images of the tournament came after the quarterfinal, not during it. Haaland walked slowly around the pitch, applauding Norwegian supporters long after many players had disappeared down the tunnel. There was no celebration left, no adrenaline left, only gratitude. In that moment, he did not look like the world's most feared striker. He looked like a young man trying to carry an entire country's emotions with dignity. That may be the real legacy of his World Cup. Not the goals against Iraq, not the brace against Senegal, not even the historic victory over Brazil. The realization that greatness is not measured only by what a player produces, it is measured by what other people place upon him. Before 2026, Erling Haaland was often described as a football machine, powerful, efficient, unstoppable. After 2026, that description felt incomplete. Machines do not feel relief after victory. Machines do not speak about childhood dreams. Machines do not stay on the pitch to thank supporters after elimination. Humans do, and perhaps that is what the World Cup revealed to the world. Not that Haaland was less extraordinary than people believed, that he was more human. As of today, he remains one of the defining players of his generation, and Norway believes another World Cup is possible with him leading the way. He left the tournament without a medal, but with something rare, a relationship with his country that had been transformed forever. So, what did the World Cup teach Erling Haaland that goals never could? That scoring can make you famous, but carrying a nation can make you unforgettable. And maybe that is why the story of Norway's 2026 World Cup is ultimately not the story of a machine that scored 7 goals. It is the story of a young man who discovered that the heaviest thing in football is not a defender on your back. It is the dream of an entire country on your shoulders.